Alright, welcome back to Flight Sim 2020 and welcome back to the SimWorks Studios PC-12. And in today's flight, we are continuing our sort of holiday trip, which started a little while ago on the channel, where we brought the PC-12 down from Vonneboom to where we are now at a small strip in Stutterheim in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. We're here to pick up the rest of our people going on holiday, and we are going to be heading up to a private Gme Reserve airstrip called Ingwelala, which is part of the Greater Kruger National Park. So from here, it's around probably just over 3 hours flight time. But as you can see, the weather isn't particularly great. It's about 12:30, so just after midday. And we need to kind of get going soon to make sure that we can get there before sunset, because obviously it's a little bush strip. It's just a grass strip or dirt strip. There's no lights or anything, so we need to be able to land there visually, and we need to be able to do that before the sun sets. So we kind of need to get going. This storm is slowly passing by, so it is getting better as it gets later into the afternoon. It was a lot darker and a lot harder rain and all of that about 15 minutes ago, so it is improving, but we're obviously going to have to keep an eye on that once we take off, because we don't want to fly right into the storm, which is kind of off to our left hand side now as we're looking at the aircraft. Right, if we jump into the tablet just to look at the planning, so I've got all of the weight and balance done. We're pretty much full up when it comes to people and baggage. However, we don't have anywhere near a full fuel load, even though I've taken quite a bit of extra fuel. In case we can't get into Ingwelala, we will head back to Vonneboom, which is where we started off the entire trip, where we can kind of hang out until the weather changes. Or if we don't make it because of time, we can head out the next morning to Ingwelala, which will probably be about an hour and a half in terms of flight time. So we're close to our limits in terms of CG, but in terms of weight, we've got a little bit to play with. So what I've planned for here in terms of takeoff gives us a takeoff roll of, if I just redo that, 610 meters, which means we've got plenty of space here. I'm doing flaps 30 for the takeoff. Out of interest, if we change that to flaps 15, so 658, I think we're going to do flaps 30 just to get up as soon as we can and keep that speed down as well. So our rotate, flaps 15 to 79, it's down to 73 at flaps 30. So wet ground, we want to get airborne as soon as possible. So it rotated 73, and then we will climb out. I'm actually just reading through the other stuff. Okay, cool, that all looks fine. We will then climb out at 110 knots, and then once we I'm hoping we get out of the clouds pretty quickly. Once we are out of the clouds, we can go up to 120, and then from 15,000 feet to 20,000 feet, we're at 115, 20,000 feet and above, we're at back to 110 knots. We're going up to 29,000 feet for this flight this afternoon. Right, that's all we need here on the tablet for now, so we can jump back into the sim. And as you can see, the storm is kind of just rolling past us, so the next thing to do is just to get fired up and get out of here as soon as possible. Now, the other thing that concerns me is we need to turn to the left, so we're gonna have to keep an eye on the storm. We might extend. We're gonna be taking off in the direction we're facing now, so this is actually the runway over here, which you can see there. So we'll be taking off in that direction over the town of Stutterheim and out to the left hand side, but avoiding the storm. And as you can see, the rain is even slowing down, so we're kind of just getting into this, or just getting into starting this flight at a pretty good time. Right, so let's jump aboard and let's get out of here before the next kind of phase of the storm kicks in, if that's what's gonna happen. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is actually just set my weight and balance from all of those calculations that I did. So let me just get those figures back. So we have 1,100 kgs of fuel. So that's over here. We currently have 611. So we're going to dial that up to about 1,100. Perfect. Then our zero fuel weight for today, if I get that figure back, okay, zero fuel weight for today is 3350. All right, I don't have zero fuel weight here. We need to do ramp weight, which is where we are right now. So that's 4450. We are currently 41. So something like that, which is interesting. I thought we could actually take quite a bit more fuel. Yeah, never mind. I was looking at the wrong end of the wheel. So we're close. We're 90% fuel and 76% on the payload. So 4454 there, 4450. We'll burn a couple of kgs of fuel. So we'll be taking off just under 4,400 kgs. Right, the storm's starting to roll in. Let's, now that that's complete, start going through our pre-flight procedures. Okay, so landing gear handle is good. Then we need to do circuit breakers. Cool. Battery is off, external power is off. Non-essential bus should be set to auto. Oops, not to standby. Non-essential is set to auto. Standby we can turn on now. External lights and electrical systems. So nav light can come on. We'll turn, I think just that for now is cool. Okay, then this would be for us to just check that our lights and stuff are working. So if we do strobes, can't actually see anything from here. If we do landing lights, not so much. Okay, that's cool. That would have been part of the walk around anyway. Oh, it looks like the rain is rolling in again, so I don't know if we're gonna finish in time to beat that little bit of rain. Okay, anyway, now we can go back and start turning on batteries. And we want to make sure that we have more than 24 volts, which we do. Non-essential bus can come to override now. Okay, nav lights are on. We can't really see that from inside. Then we go to fire test, which is up here. And we should have engine fire over there. Cool. Which we do. Now I can disengage that and that should be gone. Perfect. Okay, lamp switch. We switch on as well. Just check that all of that comes on. And down here we should have all of that too. Okay, let's switch that off. Right, boost pumps on and then back to auto. So we just want to make sure that we hear those actually working. Okay, ignition on, we listen for the clicking. And back to auto. Right. Then we need to come down here and just get this out of the way for now. And test our EIS system. wait for that to complete its test, and we reset the fuel. Make sure we get the actual fuel value. Cool, there we go. That is good. Right, that rain is getting closer. Okay, oxygen. Turn this on. And then I don't think we need to do... Oh no, we do this. We just need to set to auto, which is the middle one. Cool. Right. Okay. These switches over here. Normal and normal. Not this one. It's actually just this one. It should be normal. And then we move on to slave and slave. Then we can test this guy. And we got the green light. So we set the back to off. Cabin pressure, auto and guarded. Trim interrupt switches down here. Normal, normal and guarded. That's trim and flap. Okay, oxygen supply handle is on. Cabin lights are set as required. We need to check that the bathroom is closed, which it is. And we've completed our exterior pre-flight. Right, before start, we've removed the control wheel locks. Parking brake is set. We'll just double check that. Cool. Chocks removed, fuel cap secure, seat belts, overhead switches, all electrical switches should be off, which they are. Then de-icing switches. So we need to turn this on. We'll turn the probes on. Then heating and cooling is off. Seatbelts and no smoking we can turn on now because we're about to start up. EPS switch is tested and we can therefore set it to armed. ECS switch should be off, which it is. Friction locks obviously we can't really do in the sim. Okay, but that should be synced up with my HOTAS. Cool. Nav lights are on. External power we're not using. Fuel quantity and totalizer reset. Landing gear position down 3 green, and this should be appropriate. All of that makes sense because those systems are off. Right, let's fire up the engine. So beacon light comes on, prop area is clear.
Clear.
So engage the starter. Right, then we come up to ground idle. The sun's actually out in this, but we just need to get out before that gets to us, and see the clouds aren't super high, so okay, that's good. Engine instruments are good. Generators now 1 and 2. External power we didn't use. Avionics 2 and 1. Standby bus is off. Cooling and heating, that's good. Okay, EPS light should be out. Cool. ECS switch now to auto, and that is extinguished. Flaps we're going to set to 30 for takeoff. Inverter switched, whatever that means. I don't actually know, it just says switched, so I'm never sure which one it's supposed to be on. Okay, let's do the pusher test. I've got to remember how to do this. So, pusher button on. Flaps are set. Ooh, I don't know if it'll work in flaps 30. Let's see. Let's get the column back so we can see. Yeah, okay, so it looks like the pusher test will only work at flaps 15. So let's go flaps 15. Might as well get the GPS aligning while we do this. Okay, now as we push this up, it should start. Okay, maybe it disengaged after I changed that. No. Okay, pusher on. Yeah, there we go. Right, then we click this. That light goes out. And it comes back. And then we click this again. The light extinguishes. We can switch off the pusher button. Throttle back to idle, and now we can go flaps 30. Okay, let's just set up our QNH with the shortcut. Cool, we're going all the way up to 29,000 today. We need to do this test.
EGPWS, system OK.
Okay, that's aligning, that's working. Okay, we'll double check that. This we need to test as well. And then heading.
Warning, autopilot trim.
Yeah, let's get this out the way for now. Okay, we'll sync that up a little bit better once we're on the runway. Okay, that's cool. Heading mode. And we'll go into IS once we get to 110 knots. Right, that all looks good. And then we'll vector ourselves onto our GPS route. Okay, that's fine, that's fine. That is now blank. Fuel quantity is good. Okay, before we taxi, just do the flight controls. Okay, flight director is on. And it says we set it to go around, which I would think you would do by pressing that, but it doesn't seem to do that, so I'm not 100% sure how we set it to go around. Okay, heading bug is set, altitude, then trim for takeoff. Cool, and all the trims are in the green. It's actually stopped raining. Okay, EGPWS test is done and briefing is complete. Okay, flaps are set, lights. So we're going straight onto the runway, so we'll just do pretty much everything. Inertial separator is set, probe heats are on. Then we can disengage the parking brake and let's taxi out of here. Okay, we are nice and heavy today. So we're going to keep that in mind. Okay, so we're going to go onto the runway here, turn right all the way to the end. Oh wow, that rain actually has passed by behind the airport. Didn't actually end up coming over here. The windsock for some reason is showing the opposite direction of where the wind is coming from, which sometimes happens at some of the add-on airports I have noticed before. Okay, Okay, final items. Flaps, lights, ice protection, condition lever up to flight. And then our cause is good. I always expected this to turn a lot tighter than it does. And looks like we're taking off into the worst part of that weather. So I've missed out on quite a big chunk of runway here with this very wide turn. It's because you're supposed to use differential braking, which I don't really have the option to do on my controller. Okay, that's all right. Right, everything looks good. Right, let's see if we can get out of here and up to Ingwelala. Here we go. Okay, rotate is 73 knots. Airspeed's alive. There's 50. There's 60. And there's rotate. We got the gear on and flaps 15. Yeah, I'm going to actually try and stay out of the clouds so we can start our turn already. Coming up to 100 knots. I'm gonna bring the flaps up completely. Try to pitch for about 110. Let's get the yaw damper on to give us some help here. Let's see if we can kind of just pick this gap through the clouds. Now we're climbing just over 1,000 feet a minute at about 110 knots. So let's go IS hold. You can really feel that we are nice and heavy. Okay, sync up the heading. Now we can get the autopilot on. Those atmospheric effects on the prop I haven't seen before. This has had an update since the last time I flew it. Okay, we're gonna make a left-hand turn here. passing 7,000 feet. Okay, climbing out of 1,500 feet a minute. Right, after takeoff, gears up, yaw dampers on. The lights we can turn off now. And inertial separator as well. Flap zero, ice protection as required. Engine instruments all look good. The one thing I didn't actually set is our cruise altitude here. So we're going all the way up to 29. So there's 20, 23, 27. And so we normally do 29 or your cruise altitude plus a little bit. So probably something like that. Okay, and the cabin is pressurizing. Coming up to about 10,000 feet, we might as well set to standard because we're going all the way up to 29. Okay, I'm going to go into vertical speed mode and just bump the our speed up to 120, which is about there, right? So that's 40, 30, 20, 10, 100. Cool. Okay, this is set to GPS. We can then pop this into nav, and that should capture and start our right-hand turn. Okay, so we are at 120 knots, so that is our VY speed, our best rate of climb up to, oh, it's actually up to 10,000. We're up until 15,000, it's 115 knots. So we're climbing a little bit slower than we can. First waypoint is the Ladysmith VOR, Lima Yankee Victor, which will arrive at in about an hour and a half. Okay, so above 15,000 feet, well, 15 to 20, our VY is 115 knots. So we might as well drop that down a little bit. So just want to adjust this view. Okay, so we'll go back to vertical speed of 1,000. Oh no, because I need to slow down, so we need to increase this vertical speed. To about there. I'm gonna go through this cloud. Bit bumpy through there, which is to be expected, but now looking at the clouds around us, we should be in the clear. ITT is getting a little high, so I'm going to back off the power a bit. That's going to slow down our climb quite a lot. Need to back it off that far. So according to the app, we should be climbing at around 1,600 feet a minute at this stage. So probably push that ITT to about 78 and see what sort of climb rate that gives us. We're about 1,100 at the moment. 1,300 now. Through 20,000 feet. Okay, let me do another calculation. So 20,000 feet. Yeah, we should be climbing just over 1,000. Perfect. So yeah, that 1,600 was actually down just after we took off. Okay, at least it seems like we're up above the weather now. Okay, weather at Ingwelala, or in the area, there's no weather station at Ingwelala, but if we look at Hoedspruit, which is pretty close, it is reporting that it's cloudy, broken at 5,000 feet. And 30 degrees. Now with the temperature like that, there's quite a good chance, especially considering there's storms down here, there's quite a good chance of storms building up there in the afternoon. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go, I guess. So yeah, Palabora Airport is actually pretty close, a little bit closer than Hoedspruit. And that's reporting scattered clouds at 6,700. Hoedspruit at 5,000. That system is probably going to move more towards Ingwelala because Hoedspruit is to the southwest, and those systems generally move northeast. So if the clouds are lower at Hoedspruit like they are now, Palabora is northwest of Ingwelala. If that system is moving northeast, the weather's going to get worse. Now, the airport is about 1,800 feet, so if the clouds are at 5,000, we'll be okay. Okay, about an hour to go to Ladysmith VOR. What is our outside temperature? Is minus 18. Right, we've got 5 hours, 46 minutes worth of fuel at this power setting. Which is great. That gives us a lot of extra endurance because once we level off in about 3,500 feet, we'll pick up a lot of speed. And so this arrival time to Ladysmith is going to drop quite a lot, and obviously our overall travel time as well. It looks like we're leaving the clouds behind us. Some lower clouds out that way. So we're already at minus 22 degrees. So I wonder, what are we expecting at 29,000 feet? Minus 25, 26 maybe? Okay, so at minus 26 outside temperature at 29,000 feet, for our fastest cruise, we aim for a torque of 21.45. For our maximum range, torque of 17.1. Max endurance, we're down to 15.3. But I think we're going to go for the max cruise today. Because we've got plenty of endurance and fuel on board. Okay, coming up to 27.5. Okay, 1,000 feet to go. Then we can really start to pick up speed. Should probably change this. Temperature of minus 27, so we're probably going to be minus 27 or minus 28. Yeah, there we are, leveling off at our cruise altitude at minus 28. So for maximum speed cruise, torque of 21.8. Like so. So we should keep picking up a bit of speed. And you can see that time to the Ladysmith VOR is tumbling. And we're being rocked around a little bit. Still gradually picking up speed. Ground speed of 276 now, and still slowly climbing. Okay, but there we are, kind of starting to stabilize. We're slowly picking up speed still, which is probably going to stabilize around 160 knots indicated. But we're going to be cruising along at 29,000 feet for the next 2.5 hours or so. And then I will join you again when we prep for our descent into Ingwelala and have a look at the weather and see if we're going to make it in or if we're going to end up going back to Vonneguam. So I will see you in just a bit. Alright, so there we are. We're about 21 minutes out from Ingwelala. So we're going to start our descent shortly. So if I do my calculation here, we're at 29, we're going down to 4,000 feet. So we can dial this all the way down to 4, which is a change of 25,000 feet. Ground speed 277. And we want to descend at about 1,500 feet a minute, which gives us a descent angle of 3.06 and a distance to descend of 77 miles. So almost time for that. Checking out the weather, it seems to have improved. Oh, actually not. There are now maybe some thunderstorms in the area. So Hoedspruit is reporting thunderstorms. Let's see. So no, Palabor is just reporting rain. Rain and clouds at 6,500, light rain. Hoedspruit, yeah, that system has moved across, so moderate rain, thunderstorms, broken at 1,600, scattered at 7,400. So we could be in for a bit of a challenge here. Once again, bearing in mind that Ingwelala's airstrip is completely visual only. If I go here, there's no procedures for this at all. Nope. Which is to be expected. So we're 18 and 36. Right, coming up to 88 miles. We're going to start our descent shortly. So we've got 4,000 feet set. And we're at about 161, 162 knots indicated, so I think we'll just do no, I'm gonna do 1,500 feet a minute descent, and then we'll just manage our throttle to keep the speed up a little bit. So we said 77 miles, we're about 10 miles from that before we start our descent. If we look at the checklist, there's not much to do in terms of descent. It's just initiate the descent and check that our cabin pressurization is working as expected. So that all looks fine for now, so we'll just make sure that that is actually working. And then transition level is 8,000 feet. We'll go to the local altimeter, which will probably be the same as, well, Palabor is closest. Palabor is saying 1017, Hoedspruit says 1017, so we'll use that. Right, I'm going to pick up the speed on the descent because we have a bit of kind of room to play with in terms of our maximum speed. So we can actually start our descent a little bit early, and then we'll push it kind of up to 170-ish. And as the barber pole disappears, I don't know, do you call that a barber pole? The speed limit. As that goes up, we can just keep the speed up so we get in as quickly as possible before those thunderstorms move completely over Ingwelala. So let's go and engage that and dial it down. Whoa, not 3,000 feet a minute. Oh, that is the... Why did that switch? I do this every time. Right, there we go. So we want this to be 1.5. And we'll just manage the throttle to keep the speed. So the storms and that should be off in that direction, maybe a little bit too far for us to see. at the moment. So we're about 15 minutes out, keeping the speed around 180. Limit at the moment is 190, and that'll slowly increase. There's some rain down there for sure. Bit of rain under that cloud and those clouds. So at least here where we are now, there's like some isolated patches. There's some lightning from that tiny little cloud. But yeah, little isolated patches of rain as we're heading into the Palabora and Hoedspruit area. Which airport are we flying over here? Oh, it is actually Skukuza. We're going to be passing directly over Skukuza. So Skukuza Airport should be kind of there somewhere, or there. Maybe right there in the rain. But yeah, patches of rain all over, so this could get interesting. Okay, next checklist for us is transition level. Well, descent, we still need to check our cabin pressure isn't going to change for a while still. I think once we get to about probably 17, 18,000 feet, it'll start changing. Oh, this is actually a good point, because I don't know if I'm supposed to adjust this now, because if I do that, it's going to start changing a lot. So let's see, if I do this, I think I'm going to get a cabin pressure warning. But am I supposed to dial this down to the airport elevation, which is way below 12,000 feet? So we would do something like that. Let's see if that gives us a warning. Okay, so Active Sky obviously had a weather update because we've got far more clouds than rain. Right, 12 minutes out, 22,500 feet coming up short. Okay, transition level. I mean, I guess we can probably dial that in now already, because we are going all the way down to 4,000 feet. We're not going to be stopping at flight levels. There's no ATC, so that's cool. And then once we hit the approach phase, recognition lights, radios, we're not actually going to be using any nav aids. It's all visual. Altimeter's pressurization, inertial separator will switch on. Okay, so the best wind estimation we have based on what's happening around close to the airport is 134 degrees at 7 knots. So the runways were 1836, so we'll do runway 18, which means we're going past the airport and coming back. So we'll join like left-hand downwind, basically. definitely going into some weather though. Oh, this is going to be very interesting. So in reality, we'd have to be on an IFR flight plan to go through this, I reckon. And then we'd have to actually be visual with the runway in order to cancel that IFR and proceed visually into the uncontrolled airstrip. Okay, we're passing straight over Skakuza about now. Not that we'll be able to see anything. Okay, in terms of fuel, we've still got plenty on board. So Skakuza is an option for us if we have to. There's no ILS at Skakuza, but they do have an RNAV arrival. Otherwise, Fornerbloem is the best bet. Like, logistically speaking, obviously this is flight sim, but in reality it would be easier to go back to where we started so we can go home and stay there rather than trying to get a hotel or something at Skakuza for the night. That's not too long a flight as well to go back to Fornerbloem, so if we're not low on fuel, which we're not going to be, that's going to be the best option. So it's interesting because it doesn't really seem like storm clouds. There's no, we're already at 17,000 feet, there's no like big cumulonimbus clouds, but we definitely have some lightning in there. I don't know how realistic that is. Okay, I just want to look at the MSA for this area, because we are going to have to kind of keep ourselves out of terrain. It's relatively flat in this area. The mountains are all to our left-hand side, a good few miles away. Okay, so MSA for the area we're going into is 5,000. So let's just adjust to 5,000. So yeah, all of the mountain ranges and the high terrain starts west of Hoedspruit. And that's the airport that we can just see coming into view over here. So the mountains are kind of all over here. So we're fine where we are now. And 5,000 feet is our minimum safe altitude. We also need to be a bit careful because there's loads of little private airstrips on this like cluster of private reserves in this area, so we need to just make sure that we get the correct one. And when I say there's a lot, like just here on one page on Navigraph, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 that I can count just on one page. So we need to make sure we get the correct one. Okay, seatbelt signs are on, probes are on. I think what I'm going to do now at this point is just turn the inertial separator on as well, just in case, and then we don't forget it as well when we get into the dirt strip. But that looks like, yeah, if we don't have a little gap like that over the airport, this is going to be tough. We're about 7 minutes out. So I'm just slowly feeding in the power so we can keep our speed up. Okay, 6 minutes out. Right, so we've got 5,000 feet to go in 6 minutes, and we're doing more than 1,000 feet a minute, so we will arrive at that 5,000 foot just before we get to the airport itself. Looks like we might have a bit of visibility in places under the clouds, so it seems like maybe if we just don't come out in one of those areas with all the rain, we might actually have a chance. Okay, 4.5 minutes. Just under 10,000 feet now. Alright, just keeping an eye on that speed. It's up a little bit of a tailwind, I think. 2 knots it seems. Now we've got a bit of rain. 3.5 minutes, 7,700 feet. Okay, I'm just going to start slowing down as well. Put some lights on, not that it's going to do very much. Look at all these little private strips. There's quite a big open area out that side. That's kind of what we're going to need to get in here. See, this in the rain is going to be impossible. Okay, outside temperature 23, so it's still pretty warm. Right, this is a fairly good sign, although I think our airport is going to be like just inside that rain shower. But if this is what's going to happen, we can hold a bit. We got plenty of fuel on board. We can hold for a bit, see if it maybe clears up or we get a gap. Right, so here's some of these strips. There's one there. Here's another one which I don't think is ours. I think that's this one. Ours is there. Okay, there's no high terrain here. Everything looks pretty good. Let's go down to 4,000. Now, this is not our strip. That's our strip there. Okay, so 36 and 18. In fact, that might not be it either. Okay, there we are at 4,000. Might have to... Yeah, this isn't it. This is this strip over here. Ours is just in the rain, so we might have to just kind of hold in this area. No, that is it. This is this airstrip. Yes, so that is ours over there. And I think I might actually just land with a little bit of a tailwind. We're gonna have like 4 knots maybe, which is maybe not the best. So I want to try and stay out of this rain. So I think our best option is to land in this direction. Right, let's disengage the autopilot. So this is the Ingwelala camp. Okay, lights, radios, altimeters, pressurization. Inertial separator. So, approach check is complete. Next is flaps and gear. Need to bring our speed down for that though. So we want to get in there before any of these clouds and any of the rain moves over the airport, or the airstrip, I should say. Okay, gear coming down, flaps 1. More flaps. this 100 knots. Flaps full and set for landing. Okay, gear down, 3 green, flaps full. Let's disengage the yaw damper. It looks like we might make it in just in time here. Bumpy closer to the ground. Right, and there we are. With a bit of a tailwind as well. Let's get that done. And we actually just want to go in here to our left and get the flaps up. That's off.
Trim.
Alright, and I'm gonna have this turning circle issue. Right, we'll just pretend the bush isn't there. I actually just need to set up some buttons on my keyboard to do the differential braking. So that'll help a lot, because you can see as I brake how much quicker it turns. So if I can just brake that left-hand side, that's what I need. Okay, we can fix the trim issue. Okay, parking brake, ECS, taxi light, transponder, cooling and heating, passenger signs, probes, inertial separator, beacon light. Right, generators. ITT is coming down. And we can do this guy to off. And then avionics as well can come off. And then battery switches. Wow, sounds like it's getting pretty intense out there. That is quite the storm on that side. Oh, great, and there's another weather update. Ah, look at the rainbows, that's pretty cool. Oh, wow, that looks pretty nasty out that way. So, it would appear that we made it in just in time. We'll make sure we tie down our PC-12 really carefully, so we don't have issues in the storm, but we did make it safely into Ingwelala. A bit of an interesting landing with the tailwind. And the PC-12, since the update, I know the update's been out for quite a while, I just haven't flown it since then, feels kind of different. It is better. It doesn't feel like as twitchy as before. It feels a bit smoother. I don't know if I'm just imagining that, but because I've been flying other aircraft, it did feel kind of solid. It feels like you have to put in quite a lot of movement on the controls for it to actually respond, which is actually quite nice because it gives you finer control. It means if you put very, very small control inputs in, it does small movements in the aircraft, which I quite like. If you want to do a really hard bank, you really have to push the joystick over quite hard, which is really nice. So yeah, a successful flight. The next part of this little mini series, we will of course be heading from here most likely back. I guess we'd have to take our passengers back to Stutterheim or East London depending on the weather, and then we'll head back with our PC-12 to Vonnegut. But that is going to bring us to the end of today's video. As always, if you did make it all the way to this part of the video, thank you so much. I do really appreciate you watching. If you did enjoy it, you know what to do down below, and I'll see you in the next one.